Hello, Merry Christmas on this, the fifth day of Christmas. Over the last few days, we've talked about love, about mercy, about the sacredness of human life, and about how money and power can quietly replace God in your lives. Today, Jesus tells us what a life free from those things actually looks like. Jesus says, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God." Matthew 5, verse 9. That sentence is short, but to the point. What does it mean to be a peacemaker? And what happens if we choose not to make peace? How is our administration measuring up as peacemakers? Let's take a look. What Jesus does not bless is he does not say, "Blessed are the winners." He does not say, "Blessed are the beautiful." He does not say, "Blessed are the rich." He does not say, "Blessed are the famous." He says, "Blessed are the peacemakers," not peacekeepers, not enforcers, peacemakers. Let's take a look at what that looked like in Jesus' world. Jesus lived in an empire that claimed it brought peace. Rome called peace Pax Romana, but it was peace through violence, peace enforced by fear, peace maintained by crucifixion, occupation, and bloodshed. And Jesus lived inside that system and refuses to call that peace. Because peace for Jesus is not silence created by force. It's not obedience extracted through fear. Peace is something that you build, and it begins with having respect for all of God's children, all nationalities, all races, all religions under God. Peacemaking is hard because peacemakers step into conflict without being cruel. They refuse to escalate. They refuse to dehumanize. They refuse to treat violence as strength. And that makes peacemakers kind of unpopular. They're called weak, naive, unrealistic. But Jesus doesn't call them weak. He calls them the children of God. There's a warning inside of this blessing, inside of this beatitude. He says peacemakers will be called children of God. In other words, how we pursue peace reveals who we belong to, what team we are on. If our version of peace requires cages, bombs, collective punishment, or disposable lives, Jesus does not recognize that as his. Let me say that again. If you support cages or bombs or violence, you are not on the side with Christ. You are not on his team. Fox News, are you listening? Are you paying attention? So let's look at how we measure peacemakers by Jesus' standard. Jesus defines peacemakers as people who de-escalate rather than inflame, refuse dehumanization, absorb costs to stop cycles of harm, build reconciliation instead of enforcing silence through fear. Matthew 5, verse 9. So the question isn't, did conflict stop for a moment? It's, was peace built without cruelty, intimidation, or expendable lives? Let's look at Trump's rhetoric and examine that. A defining feature of the Trump administration, their posture has been confrontational rhetoric. They use threat-based language towards adversaries. They perform public shaming and mockery as a political tool. They frame opponents as enemies rather than parties to be reconciled with. This matters because in Jesus' framework, peace begins with how we speak about others. Language that humiliates, threatens, or dehumanizes does not prepare the ground for peace. It prepares the ground for retaliation and conflict. By Jesus' standard, this is peace through intimidation, not peacemaking. This administration has consistently emphasized military strength as a primary negotiating tool, sanctions designed to cause economic pain to force compliance, maximum pressure strategies that accept civilian suffering as leverage. These approaches can produce short-term compliance, but Jesus explicitly rejects the idea that coercion equals peace. Peace that depends on fear is unstable. Jesus does not bless it. Let's talk about his words on immigration and order. The administration often describes harsh immigration enforcement as restoring order and peace. But Jesus' peacemaking never separates families to deter others, treats vulnerable people as threats, uses suffering as a warning sign. Order achieved through cruelty is not peace in the gospel sense. It is quiet that is maintained by harm that places these policies in direct tension with Jesus' teachings. So how should we resolve conflict as peacemakers? Well, we should lower temperature. We should invite dialogue. We should accept shared humanity even with our adversaries. The Trump administration, their style tends more towards zero-sum outcomes, public dominance, victory defined by humiliation of the other side. That approach may energize his supporters, but it does not reconcile enemies. Like Trump, these supporters have forgotten Christ's teachings this Christmas, which is why we need reminders this Christmas season, okay? Remember, Jesus names reconciliation, not victory, as the work of God's children. Here's the bottom line. By Jesus' definition, peacemaking requires restraint, humility, willingness to absorb insult without escalating harm, commitment to human dignity, even for our enemies. Measured against that standard, the Trump administration, their approach aligns far more closely with peace enforced by power than peace made through reconciliation. That doesn't mean that there weren't conflicts that paused. It means the method contradicts the ethic of Jesus Christ. And Jesus is explicit. How we achieve peace matters. Bringing this into present times, today in our politics, peace is often defined as dominance, as control, as making threats and trying to bully our opposition. But Jesus never endorses peace through intimidation. He never blesses violence wrapped in religious language. He never mistakes fear for order. When political movements celebrate force, mock compassion, and equate cruelty with strength, they are not defending Christmas. They are rejecting the Prince of Peace. I want to pause right here for a second. Are you guys seeing a pattern here? Do you see that not just the policies, but the actions, the words, the behavior, the entire Republican Party and all of its supporting institutions, from Fox News to Newsmax to everything, to the bloggers online, do you see that universally from one end to the other, they all do the opposite of Christ? They all choose actions that are the opposite of what Christ commands. They are the Antichrist. I don't mean the son of Satan that's coming to end the world. I mean, they do the opposite that Christ commands all of the time. This is important because if you value your soul, you need to recognize this. And you need to not follow in their example. They are leading people astray. I'm not saying the Democrats are any better, but what I can tell you is that the Democrats love peace. The Democrats work for the vulnerable. They work for the poor. It's pretty obvious to me, okay? And at the core of it, at the root of it, the Republican Party is about money. It's about the rich. It's about the elites. And as we talked about in previous episodes, the more that you worship money, the more you are insulated from the poor and the vulnerable, the weak and the oppressed. And I believe in my heart that when you insulate yourself from those people, and Christ even says this, you are insulating yourself from Christ. And I think the longer that you stay insulated from the poor and the vulnerable, and the longer you stay insulated from Christ and from his teachings, and stay deaf to the words of Christ, the harder your heart becomes, the more foul you become as a human being, and the more you are lost. And what we're really talking about here is the fate of your eternal soul. So this Christmas, as we celebrate the birth of Jesus Christ, we should listen carefully to what he said peace actually looks like. Because according to Christ himself, peacemaking is not optional. Thank you for watching this video. Merry Christmas, and God bless each and every one of you.